Hi, I'm Linda Kohana, founder of EponaQuest Worldwide, an international organization where we work with horses and other animals to teach people how to become better humans. Many of you may be familiar with equine facilitated therapy for various persons with disabilities and mental health issues. One of the strengths of EponaQuest is that we actually work with high functioning adults and teenagers to teach advanced human development skills that enhance relationships, help you become better leaders, better spouses, better parents, better teachers. And that's exactly what I'm going to be teaching in my only East Coast appearance this year. And I'm going to be coming to the Rose Center and teaching a workshop on what we call sentient communication. And sentient communication is something that will help you form better relationships with animals, including horses, as well as the people in your life. And we're going to actually have an experience where we get to go to a farm and see how these techniques translate very effectively to working with horses. And you don't have to have horse experience to come to this workshop, because the real thrust of the workshop is how can horse wisdom and the wisdom of other animals help us to become more effective people in all of our relationships with our two-legged friends as well as our four-legged friends. And so sentient communication is a term for a modality I've developed over the last 20 years to help people learn how to become more effective at communicating beyond words. That's the name of the workshop, actually, Beyond Words. And the idea is that only about 10% of human communication is verbal. Psychologists in the 1990s determined that. So even among humans, 90% of the messages we send back and forth to each other are in that nonverbal range. And if we want to form more effective relationships with people and horses and our dogs and cats and birds, it's helpful for us to learn how to take more advantage of that other 90% of nonverbal communication. I'm pretty good with words. I've written 5 books on the subject of what horses have to teach people, including The Tao of Equus, Riding Between the Worlds, and Way of the Horse. But over the years, the part that is really powerful for students who come to study with me, as well as instructors who learn how to take this work to their own practices around the world, one of the things that's most effective is learning what I would call the grammar of nonverbal communication. In terms of nonverbal communication, when we're really using it consciously, mindfully, and effectively, our interactions with horses and people can actually seem magical. But what's really happening is that a lot of things that seem magical or mystical, some of these things are in a spiritual realm, but some of these things are simply ways of communicating that are nonverbal and unphotographable. So we've actually learned in working with horses how to use the energy field of a horse and a human to more effectively communicate. We also learned how to use a variety of breathing techniques that help horses and people be able to become calmer and more focused and to actually feel more connected to us. We begin to use breathing as a language. Horses actually teach the language of the breath. And so that will be a big part of what we're learning. And another thing that's very interesting is that horses and other animals can teach you how to not just become more mindful, and a lot of times we study mindfulness about becoming more mindful of ourselves and our environment, but horses teach you mindfulness in action and a kind of interpersonal mindfulness. And at that point, you begin to do things that we would normally consider supernatural almost, or techniques that yogis would have learned. In other words, you learn how to control your breathing, your heart rate, and your blood pressure in such a way that you can actually transfer feelings of greater peace and trust and connectedness to other beings without saying a word at all. So a lot of people who come to study sentient communication with us immediately go home and find that even on the plane on the way home, they're able to calm a crying child across the aisleway, or calm a person who's nervous sitting next to them, and they don't have to draw any attention to themselves. They don't have to say a word. But when you can engage with and move a 1,000-pound horse without speaking, and by changing your breath, your body posture, and mindfully connecting with them through a number of other pieces of nonverbal communication we learn, it so incredibly enhances your relationship. So teachers have studied these techniques, parents, leaders of all kinds, whether they're leaders of nonprofit organizations or corporate organizations. They found that business meetings actually go much better, more productively, that they can actually handle conflict non-verbally through these techniques. And they're able to use them the Monday after they return home from a 2 or 3 day workshop. So this is a beautiful horse we have here named Layla. And when I go to row, we're actually going to have a field trip to work with some horses in New England, because these forms of communication are actually universal. So it's very simple and methodical, but some of the techniques we'll be learning are actually completely counterintuitive and counterinstinctual. And so it really does take a little bit of practice to learn the techniques, but they will absolutely change your life when you can learn them in a matter of days. Another thing I want to mention is that the sentient communication technique is designed to help us learn the grammar of nonverbal communication. We often learn verbal communication, well, we all learn verbal communication intuitively as children by talking with our parents and our siblings and our friends and our teachers. And then at a certain point we go to grammar school, where the various parts of speech are broken down into nouns and verbs and adverbs, and we learn sentence structure and we learn greater vocabulary. And so as a result of going to grammar school, we're more conscious of speaking more effectively. And so sentient communication teaches the grammar of nonverbal communication. So you'll learn how to use breathing as a language. You'll learn how to use emotion as information. You'll learn how to shift emotions in yourself and others in more productive, mindful ways. You'll learn how body posture is a form of communication, and you'll learn certain body postures that are effective for dealing with people and animals who are afraid or aggressive. There are many other things we're going to learn. We're also going to learn energetic communication and really see that the energy fields surrounding living beings can actually be used for communication. So I hope to see you all in New England at the Rose Center for the Sentient Communication Workshop. And if it doesn't work out for you to come to Row, we are offering sentient communication workshops in other areas as well. And you can take a look at that schedule as well at my website, eponaquest.com. That's E, P as in Paul, O, N as in Nick, A, Quest.com. And in the meantime, I hope that your relationships with humans and animals continue to fill you with joy, and that by coming to this workshop, the joy will be increased in those relationships. Thank you.